Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, the story of X and Y. X and his friends have traveled from their home, all in an effort to find out information about the Mega Stones that the people in red suits are after, as well as the attack on their hometown by two legendary Pokemon. They encounter one of the people who were there that day, Viola, who turns out to be a gym leader who had taken pictures of the event, handing them over so that X and the gang could get some information. Mashana was apprehensive about trusting Viola, leaving the group only to fall into the hands of one of the members of Team Flare, Celosia. Shauna is controlled by Celosia's Pokemon in an effort to steal the Mega Ring. Oh, no, the Mega Stone that's in Kangaskhan's pouch. Shauna is made to attack her friend, but X and the gang are helped out by another gym leader, Karina, and her mega evolving Lucario. X ends up finding out that the person who gave him the Mega Ring was none other than Karina's grandfather, something that Karina finds apprehensive as she had to work for what she gained. But she does bestow a few gifts on X and the gang and makes sure to help defeat Celosia. So the gang continues on with their travels, being accosted by Team Flare at every turn, but with X continuing to grow more skilled with the Mega Evolution Ring. On their way to Lumio City, they come across a sleeping Charmander who had escaped from Professor Sycamore's lab, pursued by Dexio and Cena. After meeting Professor Sycamore, who X is none too pleased with, Sycamore decides to challenge X to a battle, mostly because X has been determined not to accept Chespin as his Pokemon. Meanwhile, Trevor and the others go to get his Holocaster fixed, meeting with Lysander, but Trevor recognizes the silhouette of Lysander from the pictures Viola took of the burning wreckage of their hometown. Lysander starts to intimidate Trevor and the others, only for them to be protected by Diantha, the champion of the Kalos region and famous actress. Lysander leaves after Jurassic informs him that they've located a dormant Xerneas, the legendary Pokemon. After Diantha leaves, Trevor faints, exhausted from the stress of the encounter with Lysander. Meanwhile, after X battles with Sycamore, at first showing no interest, but after seeing Chespin's need to not back down, X ends up taking a liking to the little Pokemon, naming it Marisol, and deciding he would like the Charmander as well. So everyone ends up reconvening, with Sycamore and X at the ready to go on a new journey. Where to? Join me as I find out, won't you? This has actually been a really great story. I have loved the group dynamics. The characters have really impressed me with just who they kind of are in general. Just good kids trying to do their best. It's good stuff. This is an interesting cover too. It kind of looks like a member of Team Flare and his Tyrant ambushed Y, stole a Megastone, and ran off. And there's all these Esper around. I had to look up the Pokemon's name a little bit earlier. Whenever it seems like I know more than I probably should, I've usually kind of looked it up ahead of time. I try not to make a habit of that, but sometimes I'm just too curious and I'm just so propelled to check something out. I try not to make that a habit because sometimes it spoils me. And let's jump in. Oh, this is volume 2. Or volume 57, depending on how you look at it. Oh yeah, Y hasn't actually accepted the Froakie either. I wonder when that'll happen. If that'll happen. And will Trevor, Tierno, and Shauna actually gain more Pokemon than what they have? They gotta, right? Alright, it's adventure number 12. Trevenant Pokes. Don't poke people, Trevenant. We pick up in Chaleur City at the Tower of Mastery. Tower of Mastery? That sounds cool. Landmark in Kalos. Maybe it's for the best I don't look too deeply into that. It's a cool location, though. We see two young boys. One says, "Hey, big brother, what does the mastery in the Tower of Mastery mean? The big brother says, mastery means you've become an expert at something. If you climb this tower, you can become an expert. The little brother says, an expert of what? The big brother says, don't know. The kid is bowled over by this answer. But the big brother says, let's go home. Mom's going to scold us if we're late. The little brother says, okay, heading out with a little fishing rod. Oh, they're being observed by, Gherkin. There we go. At first I was going to look up his name, but then it just clicked because I just love the name. I was going to call him Mustard, though. But Gherkin says, even the children of this city don't know anything about this tower. Times sure have changed. But that's fine. Mega Evolution should be a secret. A secret. Okay, then. My ancestors were the ones who introduced Mega Evolution to Kalos. My family has been the ones in charge of managing the succession of Mega Evolution. In other words, Mega Evolution is a secret that only my family and I know. Only for Karina to come in, kicking him in the head, freaking axe kick, saying, secret my foot. The secret's leaking out like a broken faucet. Gherkin nurses his wound, saying, oh, how could you do that to your grandfather, Karina? Karina says, silence. We're the one who said, forget about our relationship as grandfather and granddaughter inside the tower. Call me Guru Gherkin. Guru Gherkin. That still gets me. Karina's at the ready saying, Lucaria, Mega Evolve and hit him again. Lucaria has this look like, kid, what? As she goes to activate Lucaria's Mega Evolution with her keystone, Gherkin puts his hand in front, stopping her. He says, leaking out? I don't understand. So explain yourself. Karina says, okay, grandfather. Guru Gherkin, you've always told me that the succession of Mega Evolution was not to be taken lightly. My duty is to bestow Mega Evolution to those I have tested and accepted through an official succession. That is what you said. Gherkin is sitting down saying, that's right. But then Karina pulls up a photo of X showing off his bracelet, the Mega Ring, saying, then who is this? Little note, Viola, the Santa Luda City gym leader, chimes in saying, I took the photo. Of course. Gherkin says, oh, this brings back memories. I remember him. He is a fine trainer. Come, I'll show you the proof. He walks into a room, turning on the TV, and just like in the very first chapter, you have a pretty much beat for beat showing of when X won the tournament, with Chartaro announcing, what an amazing accomplishment! The new champion of the Junior Trainer Tournament is X! The Kalos Region Junior Trainers received the ultimate test in this tournament, and X's performance was exceptional. He has trounced the other trainers from the very first match. Oh, right. Also, there's Noivern in there, although it's once again passed out. Still love you, Noivern. What are your thoughts about X? Gherkin, now not in silhouette, says, he's incredible, astonishing, fantastic. I can't wait to see what kind of trainer he grows up to be. Perhaps he's destined to become a gym leader. No, even greater than that. This boy has the potential to join the Elite Four. Karina, looking in, says, what's this? Gherkin smiles, saying, a recording of the junior tournament he won. I was invited there as a commentator too. Don't you think my comment here is great? He was the champion of the tournament. Moreover, the battles he performed were simply incredible. However, he was so skilled that the impact of that did end up causing trouble. The same happened back then too. News reporters kept chasing him around. Oh, and now cut to the flashback. Oh, man, the artist, the mangaka, really didn't want to have to fill in all these gaps. Just redraw a whole bunch of stuff. They just pasted in everything they already did. As we see reporters rushing around saying, hey, X, we want a picture of you. Huh? Where'd he go? Little X says, no, I thought they were going to crush me, but we're safe now. Oh, we're really going through the whole rigmarole. Really? Really? Oh my god. Okay. I might as well. X brandishes Pokeball saying, but we're safe now. Only for two members of the press to approach saying, there he is, get him. X, congratulations on winning the tournament. Ah, that's the Kangaskhan you used, right? And he yanks it out of X's grasp. X tries to go for the ball, saying, give it back. Kanga is really tired after that battle. But the man ignores him, saying, don't worry, we will soon as we get a picture of it. But as he brings the Kangaskhan out, it's extremely exhausted, panting heavily. The man says, "What the? This isn't a good shot." The cameraman says, "Should we make it smile?" The reporter says, "Nah, how else can we get a good image?" The cameraman says, "Ooh, how about a picture of just the baby Kangaskhan?" The reporter says, "Great idea. X, can you get the little Kangaskhan for us?" X says, "What?" The reporter says, "No? Oh well." The cameraman says, "Hey, why don't we just pull it out ourselves?" The cameraman says, "Yeah, sure. Come out, little baby Kangaskhan." And they try to yank the little Kangaskhan out of the mother's pouch. X grabs the man's leg, saying, "Stop it." But the reporter says, "It'll be fine, don't worry." Only for someone to rush in, throwing the men away, saying, "Hey, stop that!" The men are tossed into the air, landing on a heap, as now we see Gherkin in full, turning to X and the Kangaskhan, saying, "Are you alright? I hate to say it, but it's going to happen a lot now." He pets X on the head, saying, "Don't lose faith. Believe in yourself and your Pokemon, and keep going." He hands over the Mega Ring, saying, "Trust me. Take this to remind you of the bond between you and your Pokemon. Don't forget." In present day, Gherkin, smiling in reminiscence, says, "That's what happened. I rushed over to the boy's rescue and handled those ruffians in a flash. I touched his heart with my cool words. I was so cool that But Karina kicks him in the face, saying, "I don't care about that. What I'm saying is, why did you hand the ring to him without a proper succession? Even if he was strong and talented, it doesn't make sense for you to just hand it to any random person you meet. That isn't what you've always been saying." Karina chases after Gherkin as he says, "Karina, please calm down." Whoa. Something shoots out. Gherkin notices it at the last second as it grazes past his leg. Jeez, it could have cut off his leg. Jeez, from the way this looks, if he hadn't stopped in time. Karina tends to her grandfather, saying, "Grandfather, are you all right? I'm sorry." Gherkin, bent over with his leg bleeding, says, "Karina, this isn't your fault. Look." Karina is shocked to see the sight of the blood as Gherkin says, "A branch or something came stretching out. But from where?" Karina turns, saying, "The door." Seeing the door now ajar, something moves past. Karina says, "Intruder!" She rushes in, saying, "Stay here, grandfather. Let's go, Lucario." As they rush out, they see the movement going up the tower. Karina questions, "Are they after me or Lucario?" In any case, they're going to be sorry for it. The light of my Keystone and the light of Lucario's Mega Stone merge. Let's Mega Evolve! And she activates her Keystone, transforming Lucario into Mega Lucario, and I completely forgot. Lucario is also one of my favorites, so gotta get him in there too. One of those things of how could you forget one of your favorites? Look, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Mega Lucario lands on one of the banisters of the tower. As Karina says, "Mega Lucario on the scene, tee-hee." Tee-hee. "You're not going anywhere. Show yourself, intruder." As Mega Lucario spots the figure still moving at a quick speed, it leaps forward, ready to take on Trevenant. Karina says, "A Trevenant, an Elder Tree Pokemon that's both a ghost and grass type." Grandfather said a branch or something came stretching out, and he was right. It was probably Hornleech. Hornleech? Huh. Karina says, What? Where's the trainer? I saw 2 figures attack grandfather." 2 figures, huh? I expected it to be a trainer and the Pokemon. But Trevenant turns its attention, striking out at Karina, who manages to leap out of the way. But after she lands, she seems to notice something, saying, "I knew it. The trainer isn't here." And yet she's at the top of the tower. But then she realizes something, saying, "They're not after me, Lucario, the Keystone, or the Megastone." She calls out down the tower, "Grandfather!" As Mega Lucario continues to tussle with Trevenant, Karina races past, saying, "Lucario, take care of it. I'm going downstairs." But she slips. As she hadn't noticed, stairs have been completely removed. How would you do that without her even noticing? Karina looks down the tower, saying, "We've been separated." And she calls out, "Grandfather!" As Gherkin is now facing off with Essentia. Okay, I don't know a lot about Essentia. I knew who she is under the mask, but that doesn't really tell me much. because I don't really know this person's deal. But Essentia is standing there with a phantom. But Essentia says, "This is a huge Lucario statue. How tall is it?" Gherkin, smiling, says, 39 feet, I think. It is built exactly 10 times the height of Lucario. That's what my grandfather told me. If you include the pedestal, probably about 49 feet. Essentia says, "It must be a symbol of authority." Gherkin, still smiling, takes a moment and then says, "Are you trying to pick a fight with me?" Essentia says, "Gherkin, you used to be a Mega Evolution wielder yourself, right?" Gherkin says, "That's right. My ancestors were the ones who discovered Mega Evolution in Kalos for the first time. The secret of Mega Evolution was passed down to their descendants, and the family prospered. At one time, there were many Mega Evolution wielders around me. They each sought the Mega Stones that would Mega Evolve their beloved Pokémon. Ooh, see Mega Aggron, Mega Aerodactyl, Mega name escapes me, Ampharos." Gherkin tells her, "Obviously, many crooks appeared before me to get hold of Mega Evolution, but I beat them real easy." Essentia says, "But now you're just a mere shadow of your former self. Even the residents of the city don't know who you are, and you're basically in retirement. All you do is hand the keystone to the trainers you've recognized." Gherkin says, "Ha! That's better for you, right? You guys want to use me because I have the authority to hand out the keystones as well as embed them into various gear, such as rings and gloves." Essentia cracks her fingers, saying, "I'm glad you're a sharp thinker. In that case, please come with me. Mission start. Target Gherkin. Expansion suit." She races in with the really happy Fan Trump racing in too, as Karina, calling from the top of the tower, shouts out to her grandfather, who's at the ready. Okay. So is she under the command of Team Flare? I wonder why. And what makes her different from any other member of Team Flare? Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Alright, next is adventure number 13, Heracross Transform. We pick up with Karina calling down from the top of the tower to her grandfather. She then looks back to the battle between Mega Lucario and Trevenant. Karina saying, "The enemy was after grandfather in Mega Evolution. I can't believe I fell for it and let them separate us. Who is that guy in the black suit? Grandfather is injured. He'll get caught sooner or later." As she sees Essentia moving in on Gherkin, she then says, "I have to beat Trevenant quickly and get down there." Trevenant then stomps the ground, which causes Mega Lucario to lose its balance. Oh geez, and it also causes massive cracks in the tower to form. Karina says, "Bulldoze. So powerful. Another one of these and we're done for. We'll have to do whatever it takes." Mega Lucario moves in on Trevenant. Oh, grabbing its leg. Okay, that's what it is. Karina says, "How's that? Now you can't use Bulldoze. Only for Mega Lucario to be struck in the back." Karina sees this saying, "Lucario received a burn? Kinda like a will-o-wisp. It's strong." She thinks to herself, "It's a ghost type, so Lucario's fighting type moves are useless. And on top of that, it uses its strongest moves at the right moment. I cannot let my guard down. At this rate, we're going to lose. I have to find a way to defeat it while Lucario is holding on to its root." Huh? Root? She looks towards Trevenant's roots. Oh. She follows the root outside of the tower, thinking one of its roots is stretching out. She sees that it extends all the way down to the bottom of the tower. She says, it has literally rooted itself into the ground. It's sucking nutrients out for power. Then, she was able to hear it. Karina remembers Essentia's words. "This is a huge Lucario statue. How tall is it?" Karina says, "That wasn't just taunting my grandfather. They wanted to know how tall the tower was to check if Trevenant's root was long enough." "What? But I'm Shallower City's gym leader, and I'm also a Mega Evolution wielder. I'm not going to let this happen." And she goes out the tower and starts skating down the root, saying, "Hold on, grandfather." And meanwhile, Gherkin is surrounded by the flames of Fantrump's will-o-wisp, I guess. Gherkin sweating up a storm, saying, "You can't corner an injured old man with fire, huh? Are you that desperate to get hold of Mega Evolution?" It's fine for you to desire to get hold of it, but are you even aware of what Mega Evolution is? Essentia questions, what? Gherkin says, I'm saying just because you've acquired immense power, it does not mean you will be able to have full command over it. Mega Evolution is an evolution that transcends evolution. Aggron becomes Mega Aggron. Aerodactyl becomes Mega Aerodactyl. Ampharos becomes Mega Ampharos. We believe that these Pokemon could not evolve any further. Same goes for Lucario here. But there was more to it than that. Even though it is a temporary occurrence during a battle, it was an incredible discovery. I bet my ancestors were overjoyed. On the other hand, you can easily imagine that they must have a very hard time handling that overwhelming power. I've been told that there were incidents where battles would break out because they had the power to use Mega Evolution. That's why people like me were needed. An administrator who had the eyes to choose those who had what it takes to succeed it. In other words, only those I have recognized have the right to wield Mega Evolution. And you are not entitled to that position, Team Flare, he says, pointing at Essentia. Suddenly, the window breaks, and in comes Karina, jumping between Essentia and Gherkin. Karina says, Team Flare? She's a Team Flare member? Essentia says, I was going to ask the same thing. What is Team Flare? Oh, really? So she's not connected to Team Flare? But Gherkin says, don't play dumb with me. Come out, Heracross! And he brings out his Pokemon. He then raises his hand, saying, the light of my Keystone and the light of Heracross's Mega Stone merge. Behold, Mega Heracross! And the ring around and the stone draped around Heracross's horn begins to shine, and Heracross becomes Mega Heracross, knocking back Phantom. Gherkin then says, Karina, how's Mega Lucario? Karina says, it's fighting upstairs. Gherkin says, I know that. Asking you how is it doing? Karina says, it appears to be having trouble. Gherkin says, then call it downstairs. We need to gather our forces. Karina says, yes, and calls out for Lucario. Lucario hears this and bounds down the Lucario statue. Going after Essentia. But Essentia manages to dodge the strike. But after the smoke clears from the destruction, Essentia notices that everyone is gone. As we see Karina, Gherkin, and their Pokemon making their way to the exit, only to find that it's blocked by several branches. Karina grabs at them, saying, what is this? As Mega Heracross and Mega Lucario try to break through, only for their horn and paw to be wrapped up with vines. Essentia approaches from behind, saying, you cannot escape from the Tower of Mastery. Karina, you came sliding down the route, but Trevenant did not stretch it out to absorb nutrients from the ground. That is its nerve cord. It used its nerve to order and control the plants growing nearby. The tower is covered in plants right now, and there is no escape for you. As we see outside, the Tower of Mastery is completely covered in a vine. Gherkin takes a moment and then tells Karina, you've got no choice. Karina, we're abandoning the Tower of Mastery. Karina says, what? What are you talking about? This tower is a symbol of our family's Mega Evolution. It is the sign of authority and the stronghold that we must protect at all costs. But Gherkin says, silence! What is the most important thing for Mega Evolution? A large, flashy structure like this? Karina, do you remember what I taught you for in case a situation like this was to happen? Karina takes a moment. Gherkin places his hands on his granddaughter's shoulders, telling her Mega Evolution can be accomplished without the Tower of Mastery. Karina says, okay, let's do it, Lucario. She looks to her Pokemon. Gherkin has Mega Heracross use Pin Missile, while Karina has Mega Lucario use Aura Sphere to destroy the Lucario statue. Or, no, they blast a hole through the Lucario statue. And as Essentia sees this, the building starts to rumble, crack, and break apart, caving in. Gherkin says the horn on Lucario's statue's chest was Essentia questions the horn on the Lucario statue's chest was a switch. Gherkin says, I told you, didn't I? There were battles in the past by those who were after the Mega Evolution. This trap is a remembrance of that. 17 in all. That is the number of trainers I recognize the skill of and perform the succession inside this tower. One of them is my granddaughter Karina, and another is a famous actress that everyone knows. But there is one trainer I handed the keystone to without the succession. That was the only time I broke the rule. I got the feeling that it would be too late if I did not hand the keystone to that boy at that moment. It was just a hunch, but I take pride in my intuition. Breaking a traditional rule with a long history, and abandoning an important place with a long history. If my hunch tells me this is that moment, then I have no regrets about it. He smiles, saying, by the way, the keystone I handed to the boy was the last one I had, so even if you kidnap me, you won't be able to get hold of the keystone. I find it hard to believe your words about not knowing Team Flare, but tell me, what is your name? She responds, my name is Essentia. Suspension suit, Essentia. Remember me by that name. And she takes off as the place continues to crumble in. We see the tower crumble as Karina and Gherkin watch. Karina wells up with tears, saying, Grandfather, tower! But Gherkin, forever stoic, says, don't cry, Karina. Now that the battle has begun, staying at the tower is only going to make us a sitting duck. It's not worth staking our lives for. We must quickly go into hiding. He takes off, taking one last glance at the tower. He says solemnly, farewell, Tower of Mastery. But Karina calls out to her grandfather, still tearing up, as Gherkin tells her, remember all the successes that visited us. There were those handsome men from Kanto and Hoenn that stayed over at the tower. Remember them, Karina? Kanto and Hoenn. Red? Karina says, I remember the guy from Hoenn who collected stones. Gherkin says, Steven, the precious data on the Mega Evolution in Hoenn, which he delivered to us, has been lost under that rubble. But that's fine. Now no one will know about that Pokemon being in Kalos. Karina says, that Pokemon? Gherkin says, the Pokemon otherwise known as the Royal Pink Princess. Some people are so enchanted by its dazzle that they search for that mythical Pokemon for their entire lives. Oh, that's the one from the movie. The Antsy and the Cocoon of Destruction. Gherkin says, if Team Flare had discovered it, they would have abused its power. This is going to be a tough journey. Pull yourself together, Karina. Karina says, yes, grandfather, and helps her grandfather walk away with his injured leg. Dang. Whole side story about Karina. I wasn't really expecting that, but it makes sense. His story is really going hard with the whole Mega Evolution thing, and Karina's pretty much the poster child for it. Oh, but I wonder who the other people were. I wonder if we'll ever actually see the people from Kanto, and then Hoenn, but not Johto. I wonder. Alright, current location, Lumio City. Dazzling metropolis of art and artifice, located in the very heart of the Kalos. Alright, the next chapter up is adventure number 14. Pangoro poses a problem. Alliteration. Alexa, complete with cleavage. Look. The only reason I'm kind of really noticing that is because if you look at Alexa's regular Alexa, it's Alexa, right? If you look at her regular design, there's just no cleavage there. And yet with the manga, very noticeable cleavage. I'm harping on it because I am very certain that she is of age. But she says, perfect, all done. As we see several documents and scripts, and ones that reads project proposal. The mystery behind the Vanderbilt town incident. We see her sitting beside her Helioptile. She says, now I just need to get a few comments from Professor Sycamore and it'll be perfect. But then suddenly the news interrupts her as she sees the reporter Malva saying, it's still not clear what caused the explosion at Vanderbilt town. And Alexa says, explosion? Well, she thinks to herself, explosion. The TV news still hasn't said a thing about Xerneas or Yveltal. This is a big scoop. Even the TV station doesn't know about it yet. I'll bet I'll get the front page for this story with this story. But the new editor-in-chief is kind of hard to pin down. But I even have video footage and Viola's photos to back up my article. He's bound to jump on this story. He then says, oh, how to thank her. I had to look back up the name of the device. Alexa jumps on her holocaster, calling up Viola. Viola answers saying, Alexa. Alexa says, hi, Viola. What? You're hurt. As she sees the bandage around Viola's head. Viola says, oh, you remember that Sky Trainer trainee and her friends who were interviewed in Vanderbilt Town. Alexa says yes. As the helioptile wakes up and it seems to be hungry. Then it walks off. As Viola says, well, they visited my gym the other day and then, they chat back and forth, explain the whole situation. As Viola says, I'm fine, but I am kind of worried about them. They should have reached Lumio City by now. If you happen to run into them, would you give them a hand? The attackers called themselves Team Flare. As Alexa turns off her holocaster, she says, I can't believe it. The Xerneas and Yveltal weren't the only attackers. Was Team Flare in Vanderbilt Town too? She then looks back over the pictures of Xerneas and Yveltal, saying, maybe they have something to do with the two legendaries. This could turn out to be an incredible case. I haven't had a scoop like this in ages. She then looks to the seat, saying, oh, Helly? As she sees that her helioptile is gone, she walks out and sees helioptile recharging and says to herself, shoot, I forgot to put you outside. She picks up helioptile, saying, sorry, I know you don't need to eat because you generate energy by absorbing it from the sun. I keep forgetting to take care of you. Okay. I think in the anime she was also kind of forgetful. You see her walking down the streets of Lumio City, saying it's almost time to meet Professor Sycamore. Let's go. We had made an appointment to meet at Prism Tower. Meanwhile, we cut over to X, who is on a go-go. That is called a go-go, right? I think so. So we pick up with X and the gang, with Y saying, what's gotten into you now? While Shauna just shrugs, saying, you keep saying no good comes out of being your Pokemon. But Y says, right, and not just Chespin too. But X smiles, saying, his name is Mariso. I love how Chespin's just smiling up at him. Cena kind of giggles to herself, saying he's given it a nickname. While Turnio says, have you named that Charmander too? X with a smile says Salome. Oh, Salome. Salome. Y says, so you decided to trust Professor Sycamore now that you've battled him? X says, no, not at all. Y angrily says, and why did you accept Chespin and Charmander as your Pokemon? X simply sighs, saying, I told you. That's my thing. It's got nothing to do with him. He's so stubborn. Okay, see, now he's kind of acting how I thought he would. A little bit stubborn, but at the same time, it's more like he's a little tsundere. He doesn't actually want to admit that he likes something. Hirna says, right, and by the way, I agree with X about Professor Sycamore. Shauna says, me too. Why? Oh, okay, and there it is. Shauna says, after all, he's friends with that creepy guy. Tina says, right, and then we have a flashback to what Sycamore said. They're suspicious of Lysander? You must be kidding. He's a fine man. His company, Lysander Labs, created the Holocaster. It's a huge success, and he donates the profits to charity. Y says, he supports Pokemon research. Oh, no. Sycamore continues on, telling them, he supports Pokemon researchers like us too. In return, I provide him with my research result. He dreams of creating a beautiful world where the people and Pokemon of Kalos can live in peace. I suppose the reason he has such a grand and noble vision is because he's a descendant of the Kalos royalty of 300 years ago. Only 300 years ago? That's not very long ago. Y says, a descendant of Kalos royalty? Sycamore says, perhaps you were merely intimidated by his regal bearing. I have an interview at Prism Tower now. Why don't you go sightseeing while I'm gone? See you. Cena, Dexio, keeping an eye on the live while I'm out. In present day, Y pouts a little bit, saying, he might be a busy man, but he sure takes things at his own pace. That is true. Probably the more, less involved professors, and at the same time more involved, because then I remember Elm, who wasn't as involved as you would think. Okay, I was wondering what they were doing over there. You can see Cena, well, Dexio specifically, placing something under the blanket, and I guess that was Trevor. As Y peeks under the blanket where X usually is, Trevor seems to be asleep. Y says, his fever's gone down. Hirna says, that's a relief. Y then says, we still haven't had a chance to talk to Professor Sycamore about the video footage Trevor sent him, or the goons in red suit. Maybe we should wait for him in front of the tower where he is being interviewed. Hirna says, good idea. Cena shrugs, saying, that way we can catch him before he runs off again somewhere. But X doesn't really say anything. Seems to be in a thought. Alright, Prism Tower. Okay, that's what it's called. Kind of based off the Eiffel Tower. So we cut to Prism Tower, where we see Alexa looking around saying, oh my, wow, oh, there are several electric Pokemon here. Alexa says so many electric type Pokemon. They're providing electrical energy to the Prism Tower because it's not getting enough power. Oh, how many weeks has Lumio City been suffering from power outages? The north side of town is still in the dark. Hope they do something about it soon, she says, entering into an elevator, making her way up. She then looks around, spotting Professor Sycamore. Oh, she comes over saying, Professor Sycamore, I'm Alexa from Lumia's Press. We're ready for your interview? But then Alexa spots someone. Professor says, hello, Alexa. Nice work. Alexa says, huh? Editor-in-Chief? What are you doing here? Editor-in-Chief? Huh. He says, well, I am your boss. I kind of spoiled myself on who this guy is, but there's an obviously ominous nature to this dude. And he says, well, I am your boss. So naturally, I know what my journalists are up to and what they're writing about. You scooped the TV station, haven't you? The truth is, Vanderbilt Town was attacked by a legendary Pokemon from 300 years ago, wasn't it? Alexa is shocked, saying, how do you know that? The chief says, Professor Sycamore already knows all about it. He's seen video footage of the incident recorded by a boy. I've already requested his comments on the incident. Alexa, let me see what you've got there. Is that actually Sycamore? The chief says, the photos, footage, project proposal, text of your article, everything. Alexa opens her envelope saying, sure, here you go. And she hands them over. The chief looks them over saying, wonderful. You've done a splendid job researching this incident. Thank you very much, Professor Sycamore. That concludes our interview. Sycamore says, is that so? Alexa says, wait a minute. I haven't even started. The chief says, I said I already interviewed him, didn't I? The professor is a busy man. We mustn't waste his precious time. As Sycamore leaves down the elevator, he says, well, goodbye then. Dang it, Sycamore. You should be a little more suspicious about it. Then again, why would he be suspicious? He doesn't know that something weird is going on here. After Sycamore is gone, Alexa questions, Editor-in-Chief, what is the meaning of this? Why are you interfering with my work? And she says, why? Because I'm quashing this article. He says, turning to Alexa, all of her work now up in flames, leaving her aghast in horror. Meanwhile, down below at the base of Prism Tower, with X and the gang, Y questions, what's taking the professor so long? And as X peeks up at the tower, he has an intense look at his eyes, like he's noticed something wrong is going on. As X rises from his squatting position, he says, come with me, Marisol, Salome, and he marches towards the tower. Y questions, what's the matter, X? X turns, saying, I'm gonna see what's going on. Y says, we'll go too. Come on, guys. As they all enter the elevator, heading up. Sycamore exits another elevator saying, where are the children? Alexa, looking over the smolders of all the work she'd gathered, says, Editor-in-Chief, what do you mean you're going to quash my article? The chief says, legendary Pokemon on the rampage, mysterious organizations at large. I can't print articles that will panic the citizenry of Kalos. Alexa questions, what? You know about this mysterious organization? The chief says, of course. You wrote about it in this article. Alexa says, no, I didn't. Ooh, he's giving away too much. I just learned about them from my little sister after I finished the article. What's wrong with you, Editor-in-Chief? The chief sighs, saying, Alexa, have you ever heard the expression, a raised nail always gets hammered down? He says as he unleashes a Pangoro, which is one of my favorite Pokemon! Yes! What team did I have a Pangoro for? I think it was for Sword and Shield. I think I had a Pangoro. Yeah, it was one of my final Pokemon when I entered into the... I think so. I had it for a while, I believe. The Pangoro lunges at Alexa, with Alexa just barely managing to dodge out of the way from getting smacked. The chief says, journalists who try to get to the bottom of everything are a threat to the public interest. your article and you are both rejected. Pangoro manages to grab Alexa's leg. Oh, Jesus! And swings her in the air. She's about to be slammed into the ground, only for Pangoro's hand to be caught by Kangaskhan in its mouth. X cries out, Marisol, Salome! Chespin readies its spines on its head, lunging at Pangoro, but Pangoro's hide is way too tough. Oh, and out from Pangoro's fur come... The heck are those? Spoopa? Oh, they evolve into Pavilion. I'm not used to these Pokemon. Okay. Spoopa. As Y tends to Alexa, she says, you're those children from Veneville Town. Y says, Viola's big sister. Tirna says, Alexa, right? Meanwhile, Pangoro manages to knock away Kangaskhan and then takes another swing at Alexa. Y saying, look out! But Y manages to get Alexa out of the way of Pangoro's strike. But Pangoro just keeps swinging. Shauna barely manages to dodge, while Tino manages to dodge, still carrying Trevor on his back. But he dodges with some dance moves. Even X has to dive out of the way. He tells the others, go down those stairs. Y says, okay. She says, come with us, Alexa. Alexa says, huh? Oh, Helly, where's Helly? But then she spots her Helioptile in the grasp of the chief, who says, so you're going to abandon your precious little Pokemon, are you? Alexa says, Helly! Y says, don't worry, X will get your Helioptile back for you. And Kangaskhan has its hands full with Pangoro. It's a very even match. No, not even. Pangoro seems to have the edge, with X intensely watching the battle. As everyone else make their way over to the elevator, Tierno says, what's wrong with X? Y says, what? Tierno explains, saying, his attacks aren't landing. It's as if his opponent is reading his moves. As they manage to get to the bottom floor, Alexa says, my sister called me about an hour ago, asked me to help you if I ran into you. I never dreamed I'd be the one who needed help. I had no idea the editor-in-chief was my nemesis, but this makes everything clear. Those two legendary Pokemon. It's not that the TV station didn't know anything about the incident. They didn't report it on purpose. I've been such a fool. I got carried away thinking I was the only one who had these photos and information, but I was wrong. The incident in Veneville Town was caused by someone with malicious intent, and whoever that someone is obviously knew everything about it. I says, the TV station knew too, but they didn't report it? Shauna questions, what do you mean? Alexa, through gritted teeth, tells them, it's not just the TV news. The same goes for the newspaper. She shouts, some powerful authority is trying to hide the truth from everybody. Yep, it's a conspiracy. Apparently we're in Lumio City. Still, I'm not going to explain all that again. Yeah, it's a friggin' conspiracy. It's been a while since we had like a genuine conspiracy going on of this magnitude for a series. Shoot, I guess it would have been Team Galactic would have been the last big real team in control of things behind the scenes, I think. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Because I don't think Team Rocket, their last little scheme, they weren't really behind the scenes. They were kind of really more out in the open than you would have thought. Alright, and the last chapter of this video is adventure number 15, Charging After Electrite. Okay. So X has induced Mega Evolution with its Keystone, evolving Little Kangaskhan into Mega Kangaskhan, much to the shock of the chief and all the Pokemon present. And I guess Pangoro, its expression doesn't really change like that. Oh, wait, there's other Pokemon here? Just randomly? Oh, right, the electric Pokemon who are helping to power the city. Right. X turns, seeing them, thinking to himself, the electric type Pokemon from downstairs, they must have come up here because they heard the ruckus. There's the captured Helioptile too. I have to be careful not to involve them in this battle. But man, even with the Mega Evolution, Pangoro is still like really keeping the Kangaskhan at bay. Jeebus. Man, my Kangaskhan wasn't, well actually, my Pangoro wasn't that capable, I don't think. I don't know, my Pangoro was actually pretty capable. X thinks to himself, Kanga and Little Kanga are attacking in tandem, and the enemy is still predicting their moves. X brings out his Pokédex and thinks to himself, so that's why. He then calls out Salome, I want you to attack Pangoro as well. Charmander, it rushes down the Spupa. that it was fighting, ignoring X's commands, while X calls out Salome. Aren't you listening to me, Salome? Marisa, go and help Salome. But X then notices Chespin just laying into the spupa. X says, Marisa, Mariso! He turns, thinking to himself, what's wrong with them? Can't they hear my orders? Well, the chief just laughs. There's a rumbling from above that reaches the bottom floor where everyone else is. Alexa questions, will he be okay on his own? Fly says, he'll be fine. I don't know. You guys are relying a little too much on X when it comes to a lot of these situations. He's starting to get a little in over his head. Chino says, he'll probably have a harder time battling if we're hanging around. While Shauna says he won't give it all he's got for fear of pulling us into the fight. Alexa says, what a considerate boy he is. Shauna then says, oh, what about Professor Sycamore? You're the one who made an appointment to interview him, right? Alexa says, yes, but he left already. The editor-in-chief pulled the wool over his eyes. Says, we must have just missed him. Why says, oh well, we can go back to his lab as soon as X returns. But Shauna says, I don't want to go back there. Trino says, I'm against it too. Shauna shouts, even the editor-in-chief of Lumia's Press turned out to be our enemy. Trino then says, who knows how much trouble we'll get dragged into if we stay in the city a moment longer. Which is kind of true. Now, you guys weren't even involved with any of this, and you already got dragged into yet another Team Slayer situation. But I think Y looks outside to see several people gathering. Oh, jeez. Yep, the fear is starting to overtake her. She starts to imagine all the people outside glaring at her with a vicious intent, vicious eyes. She shudders, thinking to herself, it seems like everyone is our enemy. Jeez, really playing into that suspicion. Like, who can you trust? Meanwhile, back at the top of the tower, X continues to call out to his Pokemon, Marisol, Salome. But then he notices something, thinking to himself, powder. It's covering itself with the powder it gives off. The chief says, oh, you notice. It's rage powder. It draws the opponent's attention so that attacks can concentrate on it. Those two can't take their eyes off Spupa. It was quite a surprise to see Kangaskhan's baby jump out of its pouch and transform. But that won't stop my Pangoro from reading their moves. You have to admit, my team is invincible. Okay, how is Pangoro reading the moves, though? But as Chespin and Charmander continue to attack the Spupa finally faint, but Chespin and Charmander are utterly exhausted. The chief says, my Spupa are down, but your Charmander or Chespin are too tired to fight. Pangoro, crush those two first. Pangoro goes over and grabs Charmander and Chespin by the head, with X and the Kangaskhan watching on in horror. The chief says, they don't have the strength to defend themselves. Come on, crush them. Crush them. Ooh, God. As Pangoro begins to squeeze on their heads, the Kangaskhan turn to X, waiting for a command. X says, Salome, let go of your tail. And Charmander does just that, immediately lighting Pangoro's little bamboo leaf on fire. Okay, I guess it caught Pangoro's attention enough that it doesn't notice as X immediately says, Kanga, little Kanga, go. Pangoro can't dodge your attacks anymore. Oh, it was the leaf in its mouth? Oh, it was using the leaf to notice the change in wind when they got close or something? Because the Kangaskhan go in, striking Pangoro right in the face, causing it to drop Charmander and Chespin. The Kangaskhan managed to catch the two Pokemon. And the chief says, you knew the secret of how Pangoro could read their moves? X holds out the Pokédex entry, reading Pangoro, the daunting Pokemon. Although it possesses a violent temperament, it won't put up with bullying. It uses the leaf in its mouth to sense the movement of its enemies. Oh, okay. Interesting. It won't put up with bullying. It was doing plenty of bullying itself. X explains, saying, yes. By analyzing the subtle changes in the flow of air when my Pokemon attacked Pangoro, the leaf in Pangoro's mouth can detect those changes. That's how I dodge all of my attacks. That's kinda cool. The chief questions, so you made it capture your Pokemon on purpose? So you could burn its leaf? We cut to the Kangaskhan just laying into Pangoro like it's nobody's business, with all of the electric-type Pokemon continuing to watch, including an Electrike, who seems to really be focusing in on this. I wonder why. Suddenly something bursts through the tower, landing on the ground floor. It's Pangoro, with Y and the others seeing it fall and fall hard. Trina says, "He won!" Shauna saying, "Actually won!" The chief says, "Why you? I still have the Helioptile. If you try to do anything to me, I'll..." But Helioptile sees the sun. X turns away saying, "Looks like it can escape from you all by itself now." The chief saying, "What?" He then picks up the Helioptile, who's absorbing electricity, and unleashes it right upon the chief, zapping him, while X walks away with his Kangaskhan and the little Kang in the pouch with Chespin and Charmander, who are exhausted. At the ground floor, Alexia is hugging her Helioptile with tears in her eyes, saying, Thank you. She then hands over something, saying, "Oh, I want you to take this." Y says, "A magazine clipping?" Alexa says, "An issue of Lumia's journal from 3 years ago. This is what I collected to prove that the evidence of what happened in Vanderbilt Town was destroyed. It's the one thing I didn't give to the editor-in-chief, thank goodness. It's a very short article, and it wasn't taken very seriously at the time. I don't know how many people have read it, but I want you to hold on to it. Take a look at it when you get a chance." She hops in the taxi saying, "Now take me to gate 4, please." Y questions, "Where are you going, Alexa?" Alexa says, "To Viola's home in Santa Luna City. I can't return to Lumia's press, but I will continue to work as a journalist to pursue the truth. See ya. I'll keep you in my thoughts." Which, I don't know, that feels a little bit like, I don't know. I feel like as an adult it should be like, I really want to kind of look at. Then again, what could she really do for the kids at this point anyway? Trevor then wakes up peeking out of the tent saying, "Hey guys, where are we?" China says, "Trevor." Tina says, "We're in front of Prism Tower." Trevor questions, Prism Tower? Y tells him, this city is too dangerous. We're leaving." Trevor says, "Huh? What? Hold on a minute. We haven't talked things over with Professor Sycamore yet. The Pokemon with wings and the Pokemon with antlers. I didn't get a chance to ask him about them." But X explains, the Pokemon with wings is Yveltal. The Pokemon with antlers is Xerneas. Tina says, "X, how do you know?" X explains, "After I left the lab to join you here, I noticed we see X talking with Sycamore, well, more like Sycamore talking at X, saying, I noticed it in the recording Trevor sent me. There was a scene where Yveltal touched a tree and it withered away. There was a scene where Xerneas touched the same tree and it came back to life. So I think those two Pokemon steal life and bestow life. What a breakthrough, huh?" X says, "Yes. And it's all thanks to good old Trevor." Sycamore says, "That's right. And Lysander who pointed it out to me." But Trevor in present day shudders, saying, Lysander. Seeing the shocked expression on Trevor's face, X turns away saying, "Trevor, you can use the tent to rest a bit." And as he walks away, he tells everyone, "Sorry I dragged all of you into this." Much to the shock of everyone present. Trevor's still aghast, while Tierno, Shauna, and Y are just all smiles. "Oh, hey, Bonnie!" I know Bonnie from the anime. Holy crap, it's Bonnie. Apparently Bonnie is actually in the games too. Okay. Bonnie looks over, saying, at all the electric Pokemon gathered around the chief, saying, "What's this? All the Pokemon who were creating electricity on the first floor are here now. And there's a strange guy over there. I was guarding the tower on the upper floor like Clement told me to. He said to stay there and I kept that promise. This isn't my fault." But as she races to the elevator, she then turns and says, "I'm sure it's here someplace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 23, 24. There's one missing. Did it run away?" As we see the Electrike from before heading out of the city and following X and the others. Okay. Did it take an interest in X? Because I'm pretty sure since its evolved form can mega evolve, because you can see I saw it in the opening pages of the volume. And we pick up with Clement and Grant. Clement's on the phone saying, "Okay, I said okay. I'm going to hang up now." Grant, who's currently climbing a wall, because that's his personality trait from what I've seen. He questions, What's the matter, Clement? Clement turns, looking up, saying, my sister Bonnie says there's been some trouble at Prism Tower while I've been away. One of the Pokemon has escaped. Grant says it's your own fault for leaving a little girl to guard that tower all by herself. Clement says, how can you say that? I thought you were my friend, Grant. Grant looks down, saying, I'm telling you because I'm your friend. You've been gathering electric-type Pokemon to light up the tower. That's why I told you Route 10 was a good place to capture Emolga. Too bad you didn't consider me a friend then. You see Clement pouting a little bit, but Grant says, my only talents are climbing and cycling. Electricity is your area of expertise, so you'll have to handle this yourself. But Grant seems to notice something. He says, what the? There's someone I know down there. Oh, I could tell what was going on at first. But Clement uses his freaking backpack extendo hands to grab Grant and lower him down. As Clement says, where? Grant points, I guess, further down? Who's that? He says, look, the person sitting on the bench next to the drink stand. Oh, Grace. Why does she look so nervous? Is she being hunted? Clement says, huh? I've never seen her before in my... But Grant says, that's Rhyhorn Racer Grace. She holds an unprecedented record of 25 wins in a row. Her Rhyhorn riding skills are superb. She's a hero to rock-type specialists like me. But then Grace suddenly notices a figure behind her. It's Team Flare. As a grunt motions for another one to come in. Grace gets up. But then she notices another two moving in on her from the side. Suddenly, she's surrounded. She drops the water bottle she was holding and walks off with the members of Team Flare. Oh, okay. So, no, it's not that Clement grabbed Grant. It's that he grabbed the wall that Grant was on and brought himself up to where Grant was. Okay, I completely misread what was going on in that situation. So he's just kind of hanging there by his pack. As Clement questions, what was that all about? Grant, still hanging there. Man, the upper body strength of this dude says, don't know. What a weird place to end that off. So we've gone from Lumia City to Route 5, Versant Road. Roller skaters from across the Kalos region gather on this hilly path to demonstrate their best skills. Honestly, it was the stuff with Karina that was the most interesting, just because we got to get a little bit more of why Karina is so just kind of elitist about the whole Mega Evolution thing. You know, she worked hard in order to get her place in all this, so I can understand why she's just like, oh, what, we're just giving this away now? But now that she's kind of seen that, you know, Gherkin's reasoning might have had more merit than anything else, especially with freaking losing their most sacred spot. That might change her thinking quite a bit going forward. Or she might double down on her thinking, hard to say. But, I'm curious about Essentia. Like, I still know a few things, but not everything. So I'm interested to find out more about her character. You know, because she doesn't have information on Team Flare? So is there another party involved here? That's kind of throwing me a little bit. Maybe she has more autonomy than I thought? I'm not sure. And then, man, the situation that Alexa found herself in. A lot is really starting to ramp up. And I do like the fact that we're making sure that the gym leaders are involved. Like, I always feel bad when the gym leaders are just kind of in the dark about a lot of things, but no, some of the gym leaders are starting to kind of pick up on a lot of things going on in the area. And it's just like, something ain't right here. Like, they're not quite as on the ball as the Hoenn gym leaders. And I'm interested to know about Steven. Like, I guess it's just because we're leading into the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire stuff. But, I wonder if their comments about a Kanto gym leader will come into play there too. Man, I'm interested to see how Mega Evolution kind of influences things. And he said there were specific stones that he handed out. I never knew that Mega Evolution stones were in such a limited capacity. Or maybe that's only just a plot point for the manga. You gotta make things as special as you can. And I love the conspiracy of it all. It very much reminds me of Ruby and Sapphire, with Archie being in control of the media and all that. But, you know, the person in control of things here, which, I don't think it's a spoiler for anyone who hasn't gone through any of this, say that is Lysander, because he was contacting Jurassic. So, but Lysander has such an amazing standing within the community, higher than pretty much anyone who has ever come before him. And Giovanni was just a gym leader. It was Archie who was in control of the media for Team Galactic. Cyrus wasn't really in the public eye. Team Galactic mostly operated in the shadows. Team Plasma maybe, yeah. But, I mean, Ghetsis was more of a religious figure, or a cult figure. He had quite a bit of sway, but not to the same degree that it feels like Lysander does. Now, Lysander just feels like he's damn near like the president or something like that. Like the guy just most involved with everything that's going on. Well, I'm interested to see what happens next. And why did they come after Grace? Is it something that she knows, or is it because of, she's wise mother? I guess we'll see. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din and hope to see you later. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.